Beijing is battling its highest number of COVID-19 infections in 4 months. More than 40 new cases have been reported in the Chinese capital, which is hosting thousands of top delegates for the 20th Communist Party Congress. There are fears that wide lockdowns will be imposed across the city, but no major restrictions have been announced so far. Beijing's Virus Control Authority warns that there are multiple transmission chains, and efforts to rein in transmission could be complicated. Across the country, more than 900 new cases have been reported. Shanghai is stepping up measures to fight the virus. The financial hub plans to build a quarantine facility with more than 3,000 beds. Now, the site will take in positive cases and their close contacts. The city endured a 2-month lockdown that was just lifted in June. Now, despite aggressive efforts to stop the spread of COVID-19, many Chinese cities still see those sporadic outbreaks. For more, CNA's Lo Minmin joins us live from Beijing. Minmin, we've seen this jump now, but how concerned are authorities about it?
Well, all 31 provinces of China have COVID cases right now, and Beijing isn't even the largest hotspot. But what's concerning is that even after strict controls were put in place here in the capital weeks ahead of the party congress, cases are still rising. And now with the congress ongoing, measures are stepped up even more. For instance, journalists are now required to go into quarantine 3 days in advance of the closing ceremony on Saturday. And the news center where press conferences are held is now under closed-loop management, meaning journalists can leave and enter as they wish. And even then, press conferences are still held virtually. So journalists would gather in front of large screens in the news center and pose questions to spokespersons who are in a different building. And the number of journalists allowed to enter the Great Hall of the People to attend the closing of the party congress is also reduced. Now, this comes after President Xi's speech at the opening of the Congress, saying that China's zero COVID strategy was a success because it placed people's lives first. And he even invoked battleground language, saying that China had waged an all-out people's war against the pandemic. And all signs point toward China not easing these measures even after the party congress is over.
Meantime, Minmin, Shanghai is building this mega isolation facility. Is this an indication, perhaps, that zero COVID, that strategy is here to stay for China? And is there any sign of impatience at it?
That's right. So Shanghai isn't just building a mega facility. It's also hiring hundreds of COVID workers on 2-year contracts. And that suggests that China might stick to this strategy for at least another 2 years. And there are growing signs of frustration. After a lone wolf protest here in Beijing last week, we haven't seen any copycats in in China. But that's mainly because of the huge consequences one can face for criticizing President Xi and his policies. But we do see micro acts of defiance. For instance, people not scanning their health codes when entering public spaces, and sometimes shop owners turn a blind eye to that. But authorities are catching up with that by installing surveillance cameras in front of shops. There are also people who are taking COVID tests on behalf of other people, which shows the growing tiredness from people of these regular mass testing as well.
Minmin, thank you for that update. Lo Minmin there reporting live from Beijing. Meantime, a senior Chinese public security official has reiterated the call for the country to improve its capacity to safeguard national security. CNA's Olivia Xiong has the details.
In his report to mark the opening of China's ongoing Communist Party Congress, Chinese President Xi Jinping mentioned security or safety over 70 times. The Chinese leader, who is General Secretary of the party, called national security the bedrock of national rejuvenation and social stability a prerequisite for building a strong and prosperous China. Speaking on the sidelines of the week-long meeting, officials said progress has been made in the past decade.
全国公安机关坚决贯彻落实习近平总书记关于公安工作的一系列指示要求，扎实推进平安中国、法治中国建设，严密防范、严厉打击敌对势力的渗透、 颠覆、捣乱、破坏活动。
This comes as Mr. Xi had called on the party to be ready to withstand dangerous storms without elaborating on what these dangers may be. There was no specific mention of any countries or its tensions with the West. Analysts have pointed to how China's definition of national security covers a wide range of issues, from ensuring supply chains to securing food supplies, as well as its maritime claims like in the South China Sea. It also includes areas that China considers its core interests, like Hong Kong and Taiwan. Mr. Xi, though, was keen to highlight China's achievements, saying people's sense of security has significantly improved in the past decade.
新时代公安机关的职责使命，坚定不移地贯彻总体国家安全观，全面落实推进国家安全体系和能力现代化的新部署、新要求，着力防范化解影响社会稳定的各类风险隐患。
The Chinese official added this would involve moves like regular campaigns against gang crimes and paying more attention to reform the police system. But he did not elaborate further.
The wording is such that it is kept ambiguous enough and vague enough as a report card, but also to reserve certain spaces in order to maneuver in the international environment that China is finding itself in, particularly the dynamics of the environment. Now, there are external forces which even China as a superpower cannot control.
This includes the COVID-19 pandemic, a potential global recession, and even the upcoming U.S. midterm election as China continues to face tensions with the West. Last week, the Biden administration had released a national security strategy that focused on outcompeting China and restraining Russia. It highlighted China as the only competitor with both the intent to reshape the international order and increasingly the economic, diplomatic, military and technological power to do it. Olivia Xiong, CNA, Beijing.